Welcome to another video on LinkedIn ads, and today we're talking about the types of ads you can do on LinkedIn, from sponsored content to conversation ads. We're going to go over the types of ads I recommend and the ones I would recommend to avoid at all costs, because there are some really terrible ads on LinkedIn. And finally, we're going to go over the benchmarks, specifically the cost per click, the click-through rates, and other conversion rates you should expect from each ad format, so you know what you're getting involved with before you jump in. If you want more content around LinkedIn advertising, definitely subscribe and hit the bell button, because I'm bringing out videos like this every single week. Okay, so we're going to get into ad formats. Yay! Ad formats are quite exciting. I like ad formats. The reason is that it feels really complicated when a lot of people start to look at it, because there are different options depending on which objective you choose. And then within the four main or four only ad formats there are sub formats, or which kind of format you can use based under the ad format. So it gets a bit confusing, but actually when you break it down in this image that I have here, it simplifies it quite a lot, and a lot of people get a little aha moment when it's explained like this. So there are four main ad types. Let's just start with four. There's sponsored content, which is basically the ad that comes into a feed. So this is one of my ads I have, and it looks like an organic post until you see a little promoted thing written here where it tells the user that it's a promoted, it's not an organic post. So these do really well because this is the prime location for an ad. It feels organic, so more people are going to look at it. And there's a lot of room here to write what you need. Not as much as Facebook, not even close, but there's a lot of room, and you get an image. So it takes up a lot of space in the feed, so it performs very well. It has the highest click-through rate. Then you have dynamic ads, and dynamic ads are basically this type of ad here. So it puts your face, or the person's face, not the advertiser's face, the person's profile image with your company profile image. So this will be your company profile, and each individual will have their own kind of profile picture there. So yeah, it's kind of odd, but it's meant to, I guess, draw attention to, what's that about? Oh, maybe I could work for the BBC. So these come in a couple options, but I'll go into that in a minute. These don't perform amazingly well, but they're kind of like medium performers because they're on the right-hand rail here, and this is not a prime location. After that, we have text ads, and text ads are, say, if we can get a text ad by just reloading this. Or let's go to the home. So yeah, here we go. Here's a text ad over here. So it comes in, normally it comes with 3 different text ads, and it gives you a bit of a title, a tiny 100 by 100 image, and a few words to put in there. So these are very low performing, has very low click-through rates, but it's also the cheapest click you're going to get. So there's definitely utility to this kind of ad. But I mean, ask yourself the question, have you ever clicked on one of these? Not many people do. And I'll explain that in a minute, although there is definitely use to get some cheap clicks that way. And finally, we have message ads, which are very exciting or have just become exciting now. A lot of people used these ads prior, so they've come out with a new option for message ads. And I'll go into this in a little bit, but it's basically in-mail. People can send you sponsored in-mail, and they'll go directly into your inbox, and they'll have a call to action within it. But I'll go into this in a little bit more detail. This was actually never a great format in my opinion, just purely because it is the most expensive cost per click you're going to get, and most people don't fully understand that, and they actually do in-mail thinking that they're doing really well, but actually you're going to get a much more expensive cost per click, and there is utility to that again, and I'll go into that in 1 second. But they've just released very recently conversation ads, which I'll go into. It's more like a bot experience where you can have different answers depending on how they answer. All right, sponsored content. This is the most widely used ad format, mainly because it is the best ad format and the easiest one just to get results with. It has the highest click-through rate as well. And the reason for that is because it is right here in the feed. Look, here's a promoted sponsored content ad. Sponsored content ads go right here in the feed. So when you log into LinkedIn, you get pushed right into this main feed area. Everyone does. So that's why they're so popular. And because they kind of look like an organic post, the click-through rate is higher as well. You also get a lot more space to write stuff. You get a massive image over here and you get a title with a call to action. So compared to the other ads, which I'm going to go to in the middle in a minute, this ad format for LinkedIn is the best. So the click-through rate on average is roughly 0.4 to 0.5%. So, if you're hitting a 0.4 to 0.5% click-through rate, that's like 0.5% click-through rate, that's okay. You're doing well. That's an average for people. So that sounds crazy for people who do Facebook ads because they're reaching 1-2%. But 0.5% is you're doing well. With sponsored content, you get a headline, which is down here, where you get 70 characters if you don't want to get truncated, and a maximum of 200 characters. You also get an image over here, or I'll go into a video or carousel, and you also get a description, which is 150 characters to avoid truncation, or up to 600 on desktop. So again, because it's not a lot of characters, on Facebook it's a lot more. And with Facebook advertising, the ones that work really well are storytelling. You kind of write like nearly a long form ad description where you go into a little bit of a story and you entice people in with a long form ad format. With LinkedIn, we just don't have that. And we go into this in the module when we are creating the ads themselves. But yeah, you kind of need to get in and get out. You need to go really entice someone in with the first sentence, the first line. It needs to be enticing to draw them in. Then you got to ask them straight away. You got to tell them what you want them to do. So with sponsored content, you have three sub ad formats. You have single image, as like we saw. You have a carousel, and you have video ad. So the carousel is basically the same as Facebook. You get a number of different images which you can scroll through, and I think it's up to 12, but I have to double check that. But each one has its own image and description and title. So it takes a lot of work, and I wouldn't use these very often. I would only use this, say, if you're doing an event or you have, say, you're doing something which requires or adds a lot of value if you're showing numerous different cards. So I wouldn't do this just for the sake of doing it. I don't think carousel works better necessarily. But if for example, it adds value, you have something that actually adds value, for example, like an event, and you have a bunch of speakers, and each carousel has the speaker's profile image on it with a little title and description of who they are. That could add value. I could see why a carousel image ad would do well there. But otherwise, I wouldn't go to the carousel because it just adds a lot of complexion to it. It adds a lot more work, and it's harder to dissect what's going wrong if your ad is just not performing, because there are a few different elements to it. Whereas with a single image ad, it's kind of the base. There's less that could go wrong with it, so it's easier to dissect. Video ads, video sponsored content ads, I never used as much as I do now, for the reason that they've just introduced remarketing. So now you can remarket to video ads of 25, 50, 75, and 100%. So you can tell LinkedIn, okay, everyone who watched 75% of the previous video, I want them now to watch this next video, or I want them now to get this different lower funnel, middle funnel, call to action type ad when I'm asking them to give me their email address. And the video ad was top of funnel just to warm them up before asking them for anything in return. So video ads are suddenly becoming a little bit more useful here. Also, with sponsored content, you can add a lead generation. You can create the lead generation objective, and you'll have sponsored content. These three are sponsored content, and these two are message ads. So with lead generation, we can add a lead gen form to any of these formats here, which is kind of cool. So this will get you the cheapest cost per lead there is. If you just do, for example, you click on the objective of lead generation, single image ad, it's going to have a pop-up where instead of learn more, or what do these guys here have? Sign up. Yeah, so this is a lead gen form here. So sign up. This is a lead gen form. It automatically fills my information here. And I can, within a couple clicks, I can submit. So I haven't done anything. All I've done is I've ticked this little box here, and what's this? Report state of. So I'm signing up to a report. They're kind of enticing me in with this state of the CFO role. I don't know why they're targeting me. I'm definitely not a chief financial officer in any means, but for some reason I've been targeted, even though I'm a founder of a marketing company. But nonetheless, look how easy it is. You see the ad, you read it, better reporting and increased data visibility, blah, blah, blah. CFO, oh, I'm a CFO, I'm interested. It automatically fills all my data here. I don't have to do anything. Although it's asking for quite a few different bits of information, more than I would normally ask. I can click here, submit, there you go, they've got it, and I can download it straight from there. They've got my information, I'm now on their mailing list, and now they can start emailing me and contacting me. Let's see, I'm quite interested. I do this regularly. I want to see what kind of follow-up they have, because with lead gen, it's all about the follow-up. The follow-up's way more important here. So there you go. That's just an example. With sponsored content, you can actually add a lead generation form, and that includes any of these three sub formats with a video, carousel, or single image. Your call to action could be sign up, and they can just you can take that information. So it's the cheapest cost per click you're going to get, which is super cool. Okay, so to dynamic ads, which are kind of an odd one in my opinion, but here you go. These come in two different options. You got a spotlight ad and a follow ad. Actually, there's one more option, which is a job ad. It's a dynamic ad, which is a spotlight ad, but the call to action is more to do with jobs. So if we go to LinkedIn, here's an example of a dynamic ad. It's on the right hand side. So it'll have the person's profile picture that you're targeting. So this one's mine. And it's going to have your company profile image, which is DWP Digital. And it's going to have a call to action. So the click-through rate is quite low because it's on the right-hand rail, which is not very much. It's going to be a higher click-through rail, yet more expensive than a text ad, but less than sponsored content for sure. So here it is. This is what it is, and it comes in a couple different formats. So you have here spotlight ad, and this is from the objective of job applicants. And if you want people to go off from LinkedIn, so you want to get people to click into your landing page, then you click on spotlight ad. This is a dynamic ad here. And this will have call to actions where you want them to go off from LinkedIn. If one way I would use a dynamic ad is actually if you go to the objectives and you click on engagement, the option comes up to have a follower ad. So this is again, a follower ad is a dynamic ad. So again, it's going to be this right-hand rail with the profile images over here. And here's exactly a follow ad. So you click on follow, what happens, it takes you to the company page and you can check out the page and you can follow it. So like this looks really interesting. They've done a really good job with this company page. They have a lot of followers. They're probably doing a lot of these follower ads. And yeah, I can click follow if I want, or I can even visit their website. So it's an interesting one. It's the best way to get followers. Word of warning with follower ads is that if your company page is not optimized in a good way, i.e., it's not looking that great, you don't have much information, you're not posting regularly, then you're not going to get a lot of people clicking. They're going to click on follow, and then they're going to get to your company page. They're going to have a quick little look to see if there's any added value here for this person's life. And if yes, they're going to follow it. They're going to be like, oh, cool, let's follow this. If not, or they might even like, oh, this is really interesting, let's go to the website. You might have some call to actions. For example, check out my website for this awesome freebie and download it over there. So that, you know, you can get people to visit your website. But if there's not much value and you haven't optimized your company page, your cost per follow will be really high. Next, we have text ads. So text ads again are a funny format. They are basically on this right rail, and they regularly come in, in free. So they will have the lowest cost per click you can get on LinkedIn. So that's kind of cool. Although you'll get the lowest cost per click, the click-through rate will be the lowest you get on LinkedIn as well. So it's really hard to spend budget on them. I mean, have you ever clicked on one of these? It's very rare for people to do it. So in fact, it's so rare that it's around 2 to 3 clicks per 10,000 impressions. So every 10,000 times this pops up for someone, 2 or 3 people will click. That's how low the click-through rate is. It's 0.02 to 0.03% is your click-through rate. So although that's a very low click-through rate, it does have a utility. They're actually something I would use. If you're looking for a low cost per click and you want just people to click through to your landing page, then I would definitely use that as a back burner. Just put one of these ads out, have it in the background, just getting all the clicks it can, which won't be many, and it won't spend your budget, but it'll be the lowest cost per click you can get. And again, you can target the exact right people, as we went through in the targeting classes. It's going to target the right people. So the clicks are going to be high quality. You're just not going to get many of them. So it's going to be hard to spend your budget. So what I do with these ads is I just run them in the background. So I'll just set them up and let them run, and hopefully let it spend as much as it can, because it's not going to spend that much. And it's going to be great. So yeah, definitely get one of these up and running. It's basically a 100 by 100 photo, pixel photo. You get a very short title and a very short amount of space to very short description, and it pops up here on the right hand side. Here we get to sponsored messaging, and sponsored messaging comes in two sub ad formats. There's message ads and conversation ads. And conversation ads actually are a new thing. They've just introduced conversation ads, which is really, really exciting. It's more of a bot type experience. Whereas message ads are basically, they are the in-mail. So when you get an in-mail or sponsored mail, that's a message ad. And there's a lot of misunderstanding here, because a lot of people believe that message ads are one of the best ad formats on LinkedIn. I would disagree wholeheartedly. Message ads are not that great. Now with conversation ads, I'm going to start using this a lot more, but the message ads themselves are actually the highest click-through rate, the highest cost per click CPC you're going to get on the platform. And let me explain why there's a misunderstanding. In reporting, in the Campaign Manager, when you look at the reporting section, you're going to see that your click-through rate is something like 50%, and you're going to be jumping high thinking this is amazing. Well, the problem is that LinkedIn kind of tricks us, or doesn't totally explain to us what they mean as a click with a message ad. So what it actually means is open. A click in a message ad isn't open. So it just basically, it's saying that every time someone opens the in-mail, that's a click, but they haven't actually clicked on the link within the message. So yes, the average open rate of an in-mail is 50%. But if we do the maths, the average cost per send, which is how this ad format which is how you bid on this ad format, it's cost per send. You don't do a cost per click or a cost per mil, you do a cost per send. And the average cost per send is 15 to 25 pennies in the UK. So you're spending 15 to 25 pennies just to send this, and there's no guarantee anyone's going to open it. But roughly speaking, 50% of the people who receive it will open it. And this is where LinkedIn is reporting as a click-through rate. But really, what we want is, once people open, we want people clicking on the next call to action, which is to either go to your website or to open the lead gen form. But the real click-through rate at this point is something like 3 to 4% of the people who opened it. So of the 50% of people who opened it, you're going to get 3 to 4% actually clicking on the call to action on the link that you're trying to get people to do. So let's imagine we're sending 100 of these at 25 pennies a send. So 100 of these will cost us £25 and 50 of them will get open with a 50% open rate. And let's imagine 3% click on the call to action within the InMail, which is roughly 1.5 clicks. So 1.5 people out of 100 people are going to actually click. So that's going to get us to around a £15 to £18 a click, cost per click here, which is way more expensive than a sponsored content, for example. So, I never found massive utility in these. They can be useful if you have time pressured type thing. Say you have an event coming up in the next few days. Maybe you don't mind the cost per click is going to be way higher. So you're going to, at that point, maybe a message ad makes sense. But it's going to be more expensive. So I never saw massive utility in it. But they can be useful. Say, for example, you have a really personal offer, something which is really personal to, say, a small handful of people, then maybe this might make sense. But again, for me, I mean, I also do cold email marketing, and cold email marketing has a really high open rate and a really high response rate. My meeting rates, like appointment rate, on average from a cold email outreach is 3 to 6%. This is not just a click. This is people replying, going, "I want to learn more. Let's speak on the phone," or "Give me an email back. I want to learn more about what you're doing." This is a really high, high level thing, which is 3 to 6% with a cold email outreach if done properly. So I never saw the utility in message ads because I had another option, which is a cold email outreach, which is nearly free. You have to pay maybe someone. There's a lot of work that goes into a cold email campaign, so maybe you have to pay someone to, write the first liners, because that takes a few hours. But I would always prefer cold email outreach than a message ad personally, so I would never go for that. I haven't used conversation ads that much yet because they've only been released not too long ago. But I'm very excited about it, and I'm very confident from my cold email experience that because it allows follow-ups and allows different follow-ups depending on how someone answers, and I've also got experience with bots on Facebook, I'm very confident that everything, the real click-through rate, i.e. people click on links, and responses are going to be much higher because you can follow up with people with conversation ads, which is really exciting. So you get numerous chances to get people to do different things. So, one example is if you ask someone whether or not they use a certain software, you can change your reply depending on if they say yes or no. So if they're saying, "Yes, I use HubSpot," you can say, "Great, I have this add-on to HubSpot, blah, 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 blah." You can add a different message depending on how they answer. If they answer no, you can say, your tone can be different, and you can try to upsell them why, your solution is really good with HubSpot. As an example. But conversation ads will definitely have a higher click-through rate, just because you get the option to follow up and you get to tailor the responses depending on how they answer. So this is a really exciting one. If you want to learn more about LinkedIn advertising, I have a totally free LinkedIn ads targeting course, which is in the description below. There's a link in the description below, and it's totally free, and it's all about LinkedIn ads, becoming a LinkedIn ads targeting pro. So check it out, and otherwise there should be a LinkedIn ads playlist popping up now.